Welcome to the Sotto La Curva Serie A podcast.
My name is Joe, and I'm your impromptu host this week as Mike has been busy laying on the beach, rubbing olive oil onto his chest. But we managed to lure him away from his family to join us and talk calcio with you guys. Obviously, this was a big week for Inter. No use beating around the bush. Why don't you go ahead and start by giving us your thoughts on the incident, the game, everything that went down at the Meazza this weekend?
So I think we're going to talk a lot more about the incident than the actual game itself, but I'd like to give my thoughts there too. Overall, personally, if you take a step back, controversial, absolutely. Is it being blown out of proportion right now? In my opinion, absolutely as well. Bastoni he dove. It's as simple as that. They came out and said, everyone knows that. And if there's an Inter fan that disagrees that he didn't dive or whatever, I think they're stupid. But he definitely dove. Diving is part of the game, one. Two, what's funny is that last week we spoke a lot about VAR and the implications and how to use it and whatnot. And in this instant, they cannot go and review that play. In my opinion, did the ref give a yellow? It is technically when you have 50, like when you have a lot of replays and you're looking at it again and you say, okay, maybe that wasn't a yellow, but on a normal game day to day, that yellow is given. And you guys tell me if you agree with that or not, but that is a yellow in my opinion. The ref was right there. And if you even look at the angle of where the ref was, it looks like a foul. And Bastoni was gone. It's dark, not the last man back, but he's stopping a break going the other way, and it could be an odd man rush. So in the end, it's a yellow card from the angle that the ref said. Now I'm going to stop there, and we're going to continue to talk about it, but because I want to hear your opinion, I'd rather have a discussion than me just going off on this. But to me, I think it's really a non-issue right now. They're making a bigger stink of it. Did it ruin the game? Absolutely. Were Juve the better team? Opinion? Yes, they were. Even after a man down, like before the red card, Juve were the better team. Inter had a few chances, but Juve were the better team in my opinion. After the card, you can't really judge a game playing 11v10. But Juve were very strong, and did they deserve a point? I think so in this game. Now I'm going to hand it to you guys so we can have more of a discussion. I don't want to rant forever on this, but Ray, what did you think? I think you might think otherwise or have a different opinion on it. So what did you think, Remo?
Okay, so I think we're all pretty mature in our opinions when it comes to our team, when it comes to our rivals. For me, yes, I agree. Diving is part of the sport. Okay, I also took the side of, let's say, someone like Vergara a couple weeks back. He won the penalty. He felt contact. He went down. In this particular case, the thing that was the most frustrating or unsportsmanlike was Bastoni's reaction after the fact, I think. And I think that's why it's getting so blown up. Yeah, the celebration, the asking for a yellow, like the whole thing. It was, and then like telling Kalulu, like he got in Kalulu's face and Kalulu was freaking out. Now, what I find idiotic is that next year Serie A is implementing the rule where second yellows can be reviewed by VAR. I don't know why they can't just. I understand they can't implement it now because what about the games beforehand and all this? But waiting to implement a rule that could help a ref do their job better I find it idiotic. The foul itself, I understand what you mean that, okay, if he did make contact, if it was actually a foul, it would have been a yellow, but those are a lot of ifs. And the thing is that their legs were in close and the arm touch was so light. And like the way that Bastoni went, if he got shot and thrown across, I don't know, it's extremely disheartening to see. And I hate the fact that Inter is making me defend Juve. But it's I understand how people are so upset, and especially because it's a Derby d'Italia and all that. Now, there's also the fact that people are sending death threats to Bastoni's family and to the ref and all that. That's ridiculous. What I think is that the ref already is getting suspended 100%. I don't know if it was confirmed yet or not.
Yes.
Yeah,
For
it's
a
a
month, I
month, I
think, right?
think. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I hope I didn't read anything more because I'm trying to avoid the toxicity of online, but I'm assuming Kalulu's red card will be like scratched out. Like he's not gonna. He won't miss a game.
I don't know
That
if
I'm
they're
not
gonna do
sure.
that. I've never
Okay.
seen that done, so I don't know if they're gonna go ahead and do
I
that this
think
time.
in addition something like that, and maybe I know this is gonna be controversial, but maybe banning Bastoni for one game,
For what?
just to
For doing
send a
something that
message
everyone else
for a
does?
dive,
No, I
for a
don't.
dive,
No, I don't think you can.
for a
I don't think you can
dive
do
to
that
that
now.
point.
No, but the thing
I don't
is,
know,
I,
man.
I don't think you can do that now for the same reason that they won't go and change the usage of VAR to allow them to look at second yellows this year. I think next year, I'm very much on board for post-match suspension. I think that's something that Serie A should
Especially
look at. But
dives like this that result in such a game-changing decision.
yeah, but you know what's tricky is that last week we're sitting here, you're telling me Vergara, it's okay, that's part of the game. And then this week, because it's
Okay,
subjectively a
wait.
bigger dive, this one's not okay. Like
No,
it's a really it's a
wait.
slippery
Let,
slope, Rem. Like
let me explain. Let me explain my perspective on difference between the two. One is embellishment. One is a dive. Embellishment is there's
uh,
contact.
uh,
There's a step on a foot, and he's putting more attention to it. And the
yeah,
other one
there was
is
also contact. He
there's
touched
nothing that makes
very
him go
lightly.
down. Stop.
I'd like to
Stop.
ask a question. Why is no one faulting Kalulu being in a position where he already has a yellow card, going and trying to make that foul?
But
He tried to make
But
that
the thing
foul,
is,
whether he touched
no,
the ball or
he
not.
pulled his arm back. He put his arm out, then pulled
Yeah,
it
but
back right
that's
away.
you
Like
can.
that's someone that's very mature in that perspective. Because your first reaction is to start block the guy. Then he knew he had a yellow, so he pulled back, and he didn't cause a foul.
Look, I would, like you guys said, we're using the word mature a lot, which is good. There's lots of the use of mature and not much swearing yet. So I'll stay mature. I'm trying to be objective about it. And we had a heated back and forth in our Fantacalcio group chat where there's a few Juventini and a few Interisti. I I think so. The problem is that in the third minute of a game, nobody's on a yellow. It's 0-0. That is a yellow card for a tactical foul because that was a tactical foul, a soft one, definitely. But like mentioned, Inter was on
I
the
don't agree.
counter.
I don't
He
agree.
sticks out his arm to stop them from going on the rush. Now, you could give it the way you could not give it. He unfortunately put his arm out, made contact very light, very, very light. I would rather he not have given that card, but he made contact lightly. The ref called it. I think the bigger issue here, and De Rossi mentioned it, because the Cup was, there was more viewers probably this week in Serie A for this game than there would be in other games. And again, we need a producer. I'd be curious to know what the viewership numbers were on that game. It's not. It doesn't look good for the league, unfortunately. And I think Bastoni's reaction was unfortunate. I think it was immature. At the same time, it's always a question of where do you draw the line. You see players go down in the box, get penalties, some rightfully so, some less rightfully, and their teammates go over to them and pat them on the head and hug them and celebrate as if they already scored a goal. So it's okay to celebrate a penalty when it's actually a foul or not a foul, or when it's like it becomes a very slippery slope. I think the reaction was exaggerated, definitely on Bastoni's side, and I also think probably some of the reaction on social media is a little bit exaggerated. People with death threats or calling for him to be left out of the Italy squad. I think
That's
he
stupid. I
did
just want to say
something that,
something. That's the dumbest thing
yeah,
ever. I don't like what.
I think he did
Come on.
something
Calafiore
that,
is injured too. Calafiori is
I
injured, so
think
they definitely need him.
I think he did something that if you were to find him alone in a bar and drink and talking, he would tell you that he regrets doing. I think, but some of the reaction is a little overblown. It sucks because it cost us what could have been a very entertaining game. It was still a very entertaining game, but it could have been more so. It could have left no on the result, whereas now there's always that red card lingering over the result. What irks me a little is the reaction on the Juventus side, and I understand that you feel hard done, you feel like an opportunity to gain crucial points was taken away from you, but I think in this sort of situation, when the world's eyes are on Serie A, I think Juve could have acted with more class. Things you see
Yes.
online of bust ups in the tunnel, and I mean, this is things you don't even see in Total Campo, in garage, in beer leagues, or arguments like that. And these are millionaires at the pinnacle of the game. It's not a good look. It's just not a good look,
And Spalletti is very well
unfortunately.
known for bust ups in the tunnel.
That's what I find disappointing. It left a mark
Yeah.
on a big game, a game that all of Italy looks forward to, whether you're an Inter fan, a Juve fan, or a neutral. I sat down, I had my little crodino, my little bowl of lupini. I was ready to watch a great game, and it's marred by an event, unfortunately.
I left the beach to go. I literally left the beach to go watch the game. It was beautifully sunny over here, but you said
Did
it
you
was
take?
entertaining.
Did you rinse the olive oil off first, or did you watch the game with the olive oil?
Basked in olive oil, and then I took a shower. No, but I think there's just one thing that we left out, and then I think we could maybe talk a little bit about the game and then move on. But again, the ref's angle is important too, right? From the angle, like we have, again, with VAR, with TV, we have replays, we have slow mo replays. Like you have to understand, there's the angle the ref was at. I would have personally, and not because this was my team, would have called that a foul. He reached out. It looked like he grabbed him. Yes, the dive simulation stole it for the ref, but as a ref, you call that. But then you give it a
Okay, but
yellow.
there are three other
Yeah.
refs on the, like
The ref has the
not
final say.
one of them. No, I understand, but they could say, hey, like there's been situations where linesman corrects a ref, where he tells him no, look, like, and the
So
ref
this
could
was in
say,
the
I
middle
didn't
of the
have a great
pitch.
angle.
That's the
Yeah,
problem.
but there's
Yeah.
a fourth official too. If the ref doesn't have a great view, then the fourth official's there. Either way, let me just I just want to bring up one thing, because I miss the days where someone like Miroslav Klose scores with his hand in a crucial game, and then goes to the ref and says, no, I scored with my hand, and they call it back. There's no,
Yeah, you
there's
used
it's
to.
never gonna be like that ever again. But
I,
I just
I
think
saw something
for
like
me
that
there was,
recently. I forgot what it
yeah,
was.
I'm sure it
I think it was
happens.
Castro from Bologna recently, like a few weeks ago. Anyways, but continue. I get your point.
But like I would
Yeah,
expect someone like Bastoni, let's say, and I know gamesmanship, you want your team to win. I understand that part, but this is a guy who's supposed to be a leader, who's supposed to be an idol, really, for a lot of young kids, for a lot of in the heat of the moment. Sure, some things you could maybe not say anything, but to celebrate, like rub it in Kalulu's face, like it was a lot. It was heavy. It was a bit overblown on his end too, and it makes everything so much worse. Like it builds and builds, and I agree with you, Joe, that Juve's reaction, like there was no grace in it. It's not like it was such a
you,
it
you
used
don't
to
you don't
blow up,
win.
but
Yeah,
now your direttore sportivo
yeah,
and your coach, like they should have
They're taking them to
the
court. Eh?
the
They're taking
wherewithal
them
to be
to
like,
court.
hey, right?
yeah.
Where they taking to court?
I read this morning they're taking Spalletti and what's his name, whoever was in the tunnel with Spalletti, to court in Rome, the sporting court or whatever, is the way they acted in the tunnel. Just to let you know.
Oh wow.
Yeah, now you're
Yeah.
reading. Yeah, now you're reading also that there might be sanctions for Comoli and Chiellini because of the tunnel bust up. So just nobody comes out of this looking good. And I said it
Exactly.
last week, I'll say it again. Gianluca Rocchi has to go. It's an issue. the refs this year are horrible. We're talking about this situation, and we're not going to make this, ref cast, but this is hiding Orban's red card was
Well, that
disgusting.
we don't know. That we don't know what he said.
Parisi,
We don't know
well,
what he.
I mean,
We'll never know.
look,
Yeah, but
even
like even
Parisi,
Rabiot, we don't know
what
what
a
Rabiot
dive.
said.
What a dive. Yeah, Parisi, what a
Oh
dive.
yeah, but
You know,
yeah, Paris is really
uh,
bad.
even Morata, you have a situation where you see behind the play, the the player goes after Morata first. Morata gets up, gets in his face, he drops like a sack, but Morata gets. It's just the refereeing has been poor, very
hmm
poor across
hmm
the board, and I think um, I don't think Rocky is doing a good job as the designatore. I don't think he's giving clear instructions to these refs, and I think even in his comment, the game comes out and he's blaming fans, he's blaming the atmosphere, he's blaming
He's blaming the
Bastoni.
athletes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, everybody has their fault. We're sitting here shitting on Bastoni as well, but as the leader of a group of professional individuals who are the refs of Serie A, I would have liked to have seen more transparency, more, um, not to overuse the word maturity this week, but more maturity and a measured approach and saying, hey, listen, this is what happened. I believe we got it wrong. It's unacceptable. We need to do better and move on. Move on.
You'll
He's throwing
never get
fire on
that
the
in Italy.
flames.
yeah. There's no ownership.
No ownership.
I believe you can, but we won't get it probably from Rocky. And keep in mind, this guy is in this job. I don't know how he doesn't have a clean record to begin with. So
No, at all.
I mean, what are we doing here, right? Wasn't Rocky the ref when Pjanic went in knee high on an Inter player a couple of years ago, and he didn't give the second yellow? So
But even the
I don't know
even the
if he was the ref there,
but even the
I
choice
think
of
I read that
referees,
somewhere. I might be right. Yeah,
Le
who's this
Pen,
guy?
a game of this magnitude is it's not a good
Wait,
choice. Le Pen, he's not even an international referee. Like how many times this season have they put in a guy that let's say only used to referee in Serie B, and it's his first game and it's a big game. I forget which
yeah.
it was a Milan game. I forget which one it was. That is this guy that never rep before in Serie A. Like there's so many things that they could work on, but they don't. And gone are the days of Pierluigi Collina, although even with UEFA, he's not doing that great. But at least he put his face there and he
Or even a guy like Orsato was a ref that I liked a lot. Who was always fair. He was
Mm.
always measured. I feel like there's it's a soft spot in Italy right now, and very unfortunate. Hopefully, we spoke about VAR a lot last week. We're almost 20 minutes in here, so we'll move on. But I think we all three feel like something needs to be done to protect Calcio from itself right now.
Mm.
Um,
Amen.
Pisa Milan, yeah, Pisa
Oh, we
Milan.
don't want to talk about the
Loftus
actual game.
Cheek. Well,
we
we
could talk
can.
about the
I
game.
mean, yeah.
I
What
just
did
want
you
to say
guys
one
think?
thing that McKenny is still the difference maker. So
Yeah,
stronger and stronger for McKenny.
Yeah, I bite my lip
and you know
on
what
that one.
he? Yeah, I was talking about it with a friend of mine over the weekend, and it seems like certain managers just do a good job valorizing certain positions. And I think, like you mentioned, Remo's a good shout with Perotta, and after that, Nangolan was in that same kind of Mezzala role. Barella had his best time at Inter when Spalletti was manager. I think that specific role is just one that Spalletti really gets the most out. And yeah, it's great to see a player reborn almost. Game, I think that Mike, Juve started off very strong. They played well. This looks like a big team again. They lost that for a while under Tudor and under Motta, but this looks like it's slowly starting to look like the old lady of Juventus again.
The Juve, the only thing about this game, I think, let's say no red card, no controversy, Inter lose, Juve win, or Inter lose in general. I don't think the result of this game is gonna justify or gonna show or anything within the for the Scudetto whatsoever. I think Inter is just gonna they should have it. I'm not gonna get the schedule remaining. I think Inter should win it no matter the result of this. But this was a bigger loss for Juve, and I think that's why Juve fans are really mad and the board is mad because you know they got passed by Roma. Everyone's close. That race for the Champions League spot, especially in Italy, we spoke about this. It's a lot of money. Making Champions League is a lot of money, and if you miss out like a team like Juve, it's not a good look, and it's not great, especially with the amount that they spent over the last few years. They need that money more than ever.
Yeah.
It's
one
not to
one
say
guy
that
who might be happy about all this. Sorry, Ram, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's not to say that even if, let's say, they didn't get the red, that they were gonna win. A lot could happen, right?
No,
But
exactly. Yeah.
but yeah, I
Yeah,
agree with what you said. So go ahead, Joe. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No, I was just saying on the subject of the actual game itself, one guy on the Juve side who's probably happy about all this discussion regarding the incident is probably Di Gregorio. I said this once, I'll say it before. He hasn't looked great. I think two of those goals he would really want back. For as well as Juve is doing now under Spalletti, I feel like Di Gregorio has let them down more than once in the past couple of months. I don't know what you guys think. Maybe I'm being too harsh on him, but
I mean,
I don't
I
find his look
disagree.
great at all.
I disagree. I think the first goal, yeah, obviously, but we can talk about Cambia. But I think that first goal, Di Gregorio had more of the responsibility, but the rest of the game, he kept Juve in it. He made a couple of really big saves. The last goal, fortunately, he was blocked by Locatelli. He couldn't really see the ball, and a shot like that, it was to quote some Italian commentators, a sassata, like low right through the defender's legs. It's impossible for a goalie to see that, and he was stuck going the wrong way. But I think for the rest of the game, apart from that first goal, he was keeping Juve in it, and he was doing very well. And he bounced back after that first goal. I like him. He's not Buffon. He's not like a. He's maybe, let's say, top 5 in Serie A, but he's not top 3. He's not. He's not to that level that maybe Juve need. But I think he's very good at the moment. But yeah, I think it's a bit harsh to say that he wasn't great. I think the first goal was his fault, but the rest of the game was pretty good.
I think what Joe was saying that he hasn't been great all season. That's the thing, right?
Oh
So
yeah, that's
you need someone to back you up as position. Look at Menyan with Milan. He's winning them games, whereas Di Gregorio is making Juve lose points. That's the issue. That's exactly what happened here.
Yeah,
that's fair.
It's more
But
of a
also,
whole on the season. And I mean, again, the goal from Luis Enrique, that first goal, very unlucky, big deflection. Definitely, he's not fully at fault, but I feel like more as a reflection of his season on the whole, I think he's left something to be desired
mhm.
still.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I think he was much better in the previous years, and this season is probably not up to what they expect of him. I heard a lot of rumors about Vicario coming back to Italy and Juve and Inter fighting over him, but we'll see.
Yeah. So on to Pisa Milan. Loftus-Cheek, you mentioned his versatility last week. 2 weeks actually getting a start as a forward now and coming up clutch with a goal. Rem, how did you live that game?
I watched it. I was like studying it and taking notes because I wanted to talk a lot about it. Because Milan usually struggles against the smaller teams, let's call them, and this game was was not a change from that. I think Atekame and Loftus-Cheek, apart from that goal, were very shaky in the first 35 minutes. Milan in general looked shaky and slow in the first 35 minutes. That goal kind of put them at ease, but Pisa, I gave them a shout out for their mercato last week, and Loyola looked very good this game. He gave away the penalty that Fulkrug missed, but apart from that, he was everywhere on the pitch. I think like when he got off the field in the 80 something minute, he had run over a kilometer more than the next person. He was everywhere. He looks like a young Nahuel Nandez. And he scored a great goal too. Also, Ealing Jr. off the bench looked very good for Pisa. In the end, Milan was saved by Luka Modric and Ricci, who played almost a better hold-up play as a striker than Fulkrug did. I found Fulkrug pretty disappointing. Missed a penalty. Looked very looked out of his depth a bit, like he had no confidence. And he was subbed in at how in the game, which was for tactical reasons, obviously, but still, Rabiot took a dumb red card. Uh, he's going to miss a very important game. And Leao came in after having so much time off, let's say, because he didn't play the last game. Milan had the week off before. And he looked he looked lethargic. He looked, I don't know. Something has to change with him because going forward, Milan needs him and Pulisic to be on their game, or else, as we saw, not much. I don't know if you guys watched the game, if you have any thoughts. I know it looks good. Loftus-Cheek scored, but I didn't. I wasn't impressed with the rest of their play.
I had a question more than anything since we watched it. I again, I'm on vacation. I didn't really have. I watched the end of it. To be honest, I saw the goal, which was absolutely beautifully done.
Yeah.
But did Allegri rotate a lot in this game? Was he preparing for the Como game? Like, are there players that played that don't usually play? Like, how what's your outlook on that? I'm just curious.
I mean, it didn't seem like it was a real big rotation. It really depends who the starter is in midfield, right? Because Ricci ended up coming on for Fofana, but Fofana has been starting more games. Atekame started because Salamakers is injured. He rested Leao and Pulisic, which he's been doing for a couple of weeks now, and so that they get back to full fitness. So it's not like he really rotated much. We're hoping that Yashari was going to play instead of Modric. Modric played the whole game and scored. So, I mean, he was right on that. But there wasn't much rotation. Now, do they really need rotation if they had a week off and then they play this game on the Friday and they have to play Como 4 days? I don't think rotation is a big issue there.
Not a heavily rotated squad, but probably one or two missing players. To go back to your point on Leao, I feel like that's kind of always been the knock on him, right? It's that sort of when he's on, but he's not often on. I think the
Yeah, but
toolkit is there for him to be probably one of the best players in that position in Europe, maybe even. But it's just, it seems like he just goes on vibes. I mean, he's either feeling it or he isn't, which I'm not sure can afford. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's as if he's
So
less on now. At least I feel like before he was a bit more dynamic when he got the ball. At least now it's as if he also lost his explosiveness, which maybe can be due to the injury. Maybe he's unsure of or he's not confident in his own body to take that explosive jump. But looking
How
at it,
about
I
in
just
his? Sorry, I can finish this.
no. Go ahead. No,
No, I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say how about in
I was
his.
done.
I was gonna say how about in his position with Allegri? Like we talked a lot about how managers can bring the best out of players or do the quite the opposite, right? So he hasn't looked great under Allegri either. Is maybe the system not suiting him? Well, either at the beginning of the season, he looked like a preseason. I'm saying he looked great in that striker position. He started off great, and then I think he got injured. And tell me if I'm wrong, but did that is Allegri system for him?
I don't know, in all honesty, because like you said, he looked great in the striker position. He got injured. Pulisic did well as the second striker, and I think the idea was also to have Pulisic and Leao together. But even in this game, he Leao got a chance to play on left wing, which is probably his preferred position, and he still didn't look great. Like it wasn't even as much of a tactical issue. It seems more a mental or physical issue because it doesn't seem like he's confident in himself or in his body. Now, all that to say, even in the past couple games when he's actually played that even if he doesn't look good, he always ends up either doing an assist or scoring a goal randomly. And I'm not gonna take Cassano's side and say that Leao is a bidone and he's a terrible player. He's not. He's very talented. Um, and you think that. So my argument with Allegri's system is that you think that a system that relies on a low block and then a counterattack would suit someone like Leao because he's explosive and he's great at counterattacking. But he hasn't really had a chance to show it. Maybe because of the injury, but also he's not really getting involved in the play. So I don't know. The next 11 games are going to be very important to see where he is. But if it continues like this, I think Milan could maybe afford to sell him for a bit of a profit, in all honesty. And I know it's blasphemous for a Milanista to say, but if he could, if you could to the team, why not?
Yeah, I think also this year, I feel like sort of missing that partnership with Theo Hernandez. I think that the overloads on that left side of the field for Milan were always very dangerous for opponents. Whereas now it's maybe there's maybe a little bit less to worry about on that side of the field. Most of the time there, I think right now it's Bartesaghi this year, who's not a horrible player, but it's, if I'm a right-sided defender on the opposing team, I'd much rather have to deal with focusing on Leao and not worrying too much about Bartesaghi than I would having to game plan for Leao and Hernandez on that left side. So I think an aspect of that might be there. Remo, what do you think?
Yeah, I think Hernandez was very important for Leao. Also opening up the space, right? Hernandez and
Yeah.
the D, and it would open up for in and get that pass back. Anyways, I think that is a big thing. But then again, he hasn't really been playing wide. He played wide this game, but usually he's playing a bit more central. And that
Yeah.
left midfield position, Bartesaghi, Rabiot too is playing there. It's okay for Milan. I think Leao he struggles when he doesn't have space, and he doesn't like to make his own space. So he relied a lot on Theo creating space for him, and now he doesn't have that down the middle. But then again,
Yeah.
that's a limitation of a player, right? If you want to be a world class player, that's not how
Of course, yeah.
you do that. So I don't know. I think we're seeing Leao's limitations, and even if he has these little sparks of an assist, a goal randomly out of nowhere, it's not enough to carry your team going forward.
Yeah. It seems like there's maybe a lack of explosive players in the Milan lineup in general, right? I mean, aside from Leao, who are you expecting to run at defenders really, and who Salamakers
Pulisic.
sure on the other side, but I mean, yeah, Pulisic, yeah,
Yeah, those are your two
yeah,
guys right now, and they're guys that they have grit. They make their own space. They try to get in between the lines. Like they're doing what Leao doesn't do, and even if they're lacking a bit of Leao's talent, they make up for it in movement. I'd rather
yeah,
that personally.
yeah. I think most people would agree. Napoli and Roma, the other big game. We were salivating at the end of
Big game,
the
big game.
episode last week. Yeah, saying that it was going to be a great weekend in Serie A, and it was, not without its faults, but it was a great weekend. Roma again, I think, and I hate to use the word with them again, but sort of maybe a little unlucky. Chunky deflection on Spinazzola's goal, and then a last minute, straight out of a Disney movie goal for Alisson Santos. But entertaining game for the neutrals, entertaining game for the fans as well. I feel like my question that I want to put to you guys is, who does this draw hurt, Roma or Napoli? Murad, maybe we'll start with you.
Um, it's a very good question. I think in the situation that they find themselves in, I think it hurts Roma more. Roma was in a leading position. Napoli's ravaged by injuries. They had another injury this game again. Ramani having to get out after that horrible tackle on Wesley. Wesley had to come off too. But I think Roma is probably the team that's kicking themselves. Then again, Roma was playing away from home, so a point at the Maradona is still very good. I think the tie. Also, Roma could have caught up to Napoli with a win, if I'm not mistaken. So I think Roma is the one that is probably hurt most by this tie. They looked good at times. They were solid defensively, and Dika is a monster. But I was pretty impressed with Napoli and the fact that this team just like grit their teeth and came through it. What do you think about that, Mike?
Similar, but I think my answer would be Juve. But I said that before. No, but realistically, I think Roma were unlucky. Roma, if you ask them at the beginning of the game, would you be happy with a draw? I think you would say yes. Versus the way they're playing, they see Malin's on fire. I think there's boost for the remainder of the season. So I don't think the draw was a bad result for Roma, and I think that's just going to really propel them into the tail end of the season. And I think they're going to do well. I think they're Napoli. We don't know what they're going to look like. Again, the injuries, we don't know what's going to happen. And I think they got really lucky in this game. If we're being honest, they both played okay. I think Roma were just a little bit better than Napoli. Yes, they fought and they came back, but I think the goals they scored were very fortunate, and Roma should have gone away with the 3 points. I think they would have been happier, but I think Roma were happy with the draw at the end. What do you think, the Roma fans? Are you happy with this draw?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think on the road to the Campione in Carica, the reigning champs, a 2-2 draw isn't a horrible result. For how the game was laid out, I think there was definitely more than a moment there where Roma fans felt like they could get the result, they can get the win. It wasn't meant to be. What I think might hurt more, and I'm waiting. I looked before if I can find, but I couldn't. I think what might hurt more than the drop, which might a lot at the end of the year, but what might hurt more is that Wesley injury. Yes, Malin has been playing fantastically, but that right back position, we're not spoiled for choice in that area, and Wesley has looked great. So, hopefully he's fine. Hopefully it's nothing too serious and he just needs to take a week or two off. But if that's anything that's going to be long lasting or God forbid, nagging, that might be the biggest negative of this game from a Roma perspective.
Roma also have an easier game next week, and Napoli's going to be playing Atalanta. I think Atalanta are flying high in the Serie A.
Yeah, that's not going to be an easy game either. So that race for the top four is going to be hard fought right to the end. Como Fiorentina is big signal from Fiorentina. Great win. They looked good. I think we might be starting to see a crack in the facade of Como. Not the first time come away from a game with a good amount of XG, bunch of pretty passes, the lion's share of the, but maybe just not, cynical enough to go out and get. I don't know what you think, Mike. I know you probably didn't have a chance to watch that game, but in regards to Como more generally, is that something that worries you? Is that something that you're seeing too? Am I just being picky? I'm not a huge fan of all the hype.
You're not being picky.
Como, so yeah, maybe I'm just being hard on them, but you guys let me know.
I think I don't think they lack a striker, but Marotta, I'm still thinking about the entire game. Morata was brought in to bring experience on that front line. He got knocked out of this position. They don't have Dudikas has been great, and the wingers have been great also. They're just lacking that's something in the striking position, and that's basically it. But other than that, they are a streaky team. We've seen the season, even the games they played well. You can tell that they've been super streaky. But I think the biggest test is going to be this weekend. You're going to see that they're playing Juve. We'll see what happens there. Como's that team where 1 week they can play well, the next week they they can play like shit, right? And not score. But I think they were unlucky in the Atalanta game. So I don't know if we're seeing per se. I think they're exactly where people thought they would be, and they're going to finish exactly where people thought they would with the team that they have. So are they like? Is there cracks? I don't think so. I think they're well coached. I think maybe Fabregas thinks he can do a little bit more with this team than he can, but they're a really, really young team with no leadership. And going back to Morata, he's not helping his case just sitting on the bench, and I don't know what else he's doing. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
basically it.
probably
I did watch a little bit of the game. Yeah. Go ahead.
the
Sorry.
flop of the year, Morata, or the year maybe. Not looking like a great purchase. I think it's just, as a fan of any club, I feel like when you're losing multiple games the same way, it just raises alarm flags for me. I think maybe the book is out. I think that other managers know how they want to set up tactically and exactly what they're gonna do, and they might be a little predictable. Most of the good players are a little far from goal, and so I just feel like managers, as the season goes on, are learning how to maybe neutralize what Como brings to the table. What do you think, Rem?
I think you're right. I think, I mean, Fabregas got coached right now by Vanoli. We could say what we want about the game. Yeah, Como controlled Fiorentina's. We've been talking about it for the past couple weeks that they looked very weak defensively, and in this game they looked like a team that was hard to break down to a certain extent. Duvi runs, but he would ball. Paz is not. He's low on confidence, clearly. Maturin looked a bit all over the place, like he was coming centrally. He wasn't really playing out wide. It seemed like a bit too much cooks, a bit too many cooks in the kitchen. Um, I don't know. I was pretty unimpressed with the way Como played this week. I think this was probably one of their worst games all season, but I also think it was Fiorentina's most solid game of the season. They looked like a different team, and Comuzzo was benched. Maybe that's not a coincidence. Ranieri came back on, and Ranieri looked a bit more solid. He looked a bit more hungry. He looked like someone who had a desire to win, really. Keane scoring. I mean, we talked about Keane. He's at 7 goals, I think, now that he's still making a run for it. So
Yeah.
it looks like it's coming a bit together for Fiorentina. It's probably their biggest win of the season, and there hasn't been many wins, but this is pretty easily their biggest win. I also mentioned Fagioli last week, and he looked very good this week. He's got a goal.
Yeah.
He continues to improve week in, week out. I think that's going to be important for Italy too going forward, because he's a regista that they're kind of missing. Uh, Como, I mean, we could be looking, we could be talking next week and saying that Como has lost 3 games on the trot, because this game's Fiorentina, they play Milan, and then Juve. A Juve that wants to bounce back and is hungry and is angry. They might be tired, that's the only thing, but Como has the same amount of time. So we'll see. It's going to be a rough week ahead for Como.
I keep
Yeah.
forgetting that Milan game
Definitely.
midweek. I keep
Yeah,
on forgetting.
it's a big game.
Midweek.
It's a big game.
It is a big game. It is a big game for everyone
Milan goes
involved.
-3. Yeah, Milan
Yeah.
goes -3 if they win, and if Como wins, they get very close to that top 4.
Yeah. Yeah. Something to look forward to midweek for two teams that aren't in Europe this year. Just adds a little extra spice to our weekday viewing.
It's my Champions League.
Yeah, Milan Como's Rams Champions League. So segueing from Como, we already touched on the Milan game. What I'm looking forward to, as much as the game are going to be the post game words from these managers who had a couple of thoughts for each other last time they played. So we'll get to see Allegri ball versus Fabregas style of play again. After that, Milan is receiving Parma. So moving ahead to looking at next weekend's games, Milan Parma, starting us off. Rem, how do you think? you think Milan should fare in this game after one of the few times this year where they'll be playing on short rest?
I don't think it should be much of an issue. I think this is a game that Allegri salivates over. Very much, I think you had said it too. It's looking like it's going to be a classic 1-0. I think that game in midweek is going to be very important. I foresee Milan winning. In all honesty, I think they have Allegri has Fabregas's number. It's not. He knows how to block that style of play, and he knows how to hit him on the counter. And I think, let's say if we see Pulisic a bit more this game, or we see Leao a bit more this game, and maybe off a counter might get a chance to shine. I think Milan should come out of these two games a lot closer to Inter at a -3 probably. And yeah, I see a pretty classic 1-0 win. No Rabiot versus Como. That's going to be massive though. It's
Yeah,
not too. Let's not skip past that because I think he's been Milan's most important player this year, even more so than
definitely,
Modric. In all honesty,
definitely, definitely, they're most consistent, I would say.
yeah, but he allows Modric to play the way Modric does. You know what I mean? Like he's everywhere. He's running up and down. He allows Bartezaghi to get up. He's scoring goals. For me, he's probably Milan's most important player this season after Magnan. Um, Easily their best signing. But him not there in such a big match against Como might make things difficult in the midfield. Although I think it's probably the position or the side of the field where Como lacks the most resources. That right wing. They have Adai and they have Kuhn, who both seem like they're cold most of the time, and they might have like one good game every now and then. But it's I see it coming out of this week with 2 wins.
Strong words, strong convictions. Mike, would you agree? You think Milan's gonna go 2-0 this week?
I don't know. I really don't know. It depends what Como side shows up, to be honest. That match could. I don't see Como being over Milan, especially the way Allegri's system could absorb pressure and whatnot. But there's Como, if you asked me maybe 3 weeks ago, I would say maybe Como has the edge. But too many important players. There's important players missing for Milan. Is Salamaker starting?
I don't know.
I think he's still injured, right? And
Yeah, I
again,
think that might be a good old game time decision, probably.
teamed in decision. Rabiot not there. Is Pulisic going to start? Like, what's wrong with him?
Well, I
A
mean,
stomach bug? What's going on?
no, he came in last game. He was, I think he had a nagging injury that he was trying to shake off. But he came in last game. He looked good. He honestly, he looked better than Leao as a sub. So I think he should be starting. I would hope. But, yeah. I don't know about Salamakers. I'm trying to find the probably formazione.
Well, Milan
Yeah,
are
that
at
might
home,
not.
right? That's the good thing, right? I know they're
Sorry?
home because they moved it because of the Olympics. I said
Yeah,
Milan are at
Yeah,
exactly.
home.
exactly.
At least,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that gives them just a little bit of the edge, and especially the way Como are playing. But Milan should, especially that they're going for this title, right? They're all in at this point. They have to win every game. I don't see them not winning this, to be honest. Like, if I have to put money, I'd put money on Milan on Wednesday, even though I don't want that to be true.
Yeah.
Oh,
Spoiler
put money
alert:
at
we
the
might
end.
be. Yeah, spoiler alert: we might be putting some money on some stuff later this episode. We might be trying something new. Sticking with Como, on the weekend, they're traveling to Turin to face Juve. Again, another lip smacker of a week with Juve Como and Atalanta. Now we'll start with Juve Como. I think it's what I'm looking forward to here is probably just the battle of the managers. I think that they're two good teams, but I think that it would be fair to say, certainly for Como and probably also for Juve, that right now the star of the show is Spalletti and the star of the show is Fabregas. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these two teams set up on the field and what they how they try and exploit each other's weaknesses. Any predictions on your end, guys, of where that goes? Como maybe not used to playing two games in such close quarters. If things go their way, they might be in that position a few times next year. But as of right now, does Como have the squad depth to deal with two games so clear? What do you think, Rem?
I think they're going to struggle more so than Juve would in terms of rotation, especially in that center back pairing. You have Ramon and Diego Carlos. Uh, their subs are not that great. Midfield, I think those center defensive midfielders just to rotate them pretty easily. Perone has been having a great season, but I think Tacunya, Cacré is the other one. I forget. Is he still injured?
Who's this, Kakadem?
No, not I'm missing one. His name's escaping me right now. In their center mid, ex Barca.
Oh, Sergio
Anyways,
Roberto.
it'll come to Sergio Roberto. He's still injured, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
But either way,
I
they
think
can
Yeah,
so.
I
rotate.
don't think he's. Yeah, I don't think he
They can
hasn't played
rotate
that
between
for.
those three. They have Jesus. They have good wingers that they could rotate. I don't, but I think the defensive rotation is probably the thing that's going to make them struggle most. Juve, on the other hand, David's not playing in Champions League this week. So I don't know if he's going to be there for the Como game, but I think that they should have the upper hand against Como. They should be more used playing twice a week. But we'll see. It's going to be a very interesting game. I think that's going to be a nice head-to-head for that fourth spot, because let's say if Como does win against Milan in their best case scenario, they're only 2 points behind that fourth spot. So it makes it very juicy.
It's a big week for Como. They lose both games. They're out of the run. It's as simple as that.
For champions,
I
100%.
think so. For champions, 100%. Europe altogether, no, but for champions, 100%. It also depends what the other teams do, obviously, and we've seen a lot of ups and downs. But I think Joe said it best. It's going to be how the Fabregas set up. You know, I'm not in his head, but you go try to get wins. They're both away games. I'm pretty sure. I think Milan games away third, but I'm pretty sure the Juve game was away as well. So how do you set up? You set up maybe to not to try to push, not try to go get those wins, and try to maybe beat the smaller teams, and maybe try to just get a
I
draw
don't
out of
think.
these.
I think he's
I
too
don't know if a draw
arrogant
is
and
enough.
too much ego. I think he's
You think?
too much ego to sit back and try to play for the draw for Fabregas.
Not so much play for the
Yeah.
draw, but maybe you set up differently and not throw the kitchen sink at the team, especially the way you're
I
playing.
think Fabregas, the way we've seen him this season, the things he's said, he's more the type that I'd rather lose playing my type of football than win or tie or get more points changing my philosophy. You know what I mean? Like it's that type of
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah, he said it. He said it himself also.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, not much of a pragmatist. On the opposite end
No.
of Allegri, probably. Lecce and Inter, we'll touch on it because Inter's a big team, but I'm assuming this is probably the game where we have the least to talk about. The question is mostly by how much Inter will win this game. Are we going to get a 1 or 2 goals, professional job after a tough trip to Norway, or do they come out and lay 5 or 6 on Lecce? Is I think the only question.
I think they'll lay at least 4. They're rotating heavy for. No, they are. They're rotating heavy against Bodo Glimt. I just also that they're changing the game completely because the pitch is frozen. They're trying to remove snow. They're even getting a snowstorm overnight Tuesday, so they're moving the stadium for that game. So I think that just helps Inter. Also, we're going to rotate and let you know. Not to say that they're a pushover, but they showed today that they can play a little bit. But I think Inter are just too strong not to score a couple of goals.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
fair
gonna be
expectation, I think.
an easy job.
Roma is receiving Cremonese. I think Roma's got some tough fixtures. This is likely another must-win for Roma. Cremonese haven't looked great lately. Nicola was working some magic early this year. They do look like they have a stronger focal point to their attack with Juric, a good old-fashioned target that Nicola loves so much. But Roma's fixture list after the Cremonese game is a little bit more difficult. I think after Cremonese, it's Juve, then Genoa, then they get Fabregas's Como. So I don't want to be sitting here talking about luck this time next week. I think Roma needs to go out there and do a job, take a page out of Allegri's playbook and a page out of Inter's playbook and win the damn games that they're supposed to win. So that's what I'm expecting to see. Anyways, what do you guys think? Rem?
I think it's a classic trap game where Cremonese this week against Genoa, they look pretty good. The real difference maker in this game is going to be Malin and whether he finds space against these small teams. If he's able to score even one goal, I think it'll be an easy Roma win. It'll probably be a 1-0 or a 2-0 win. But Cremonese, they're pretty solid. Juric, like you said, I praised their signing of Juric. I think he looked good this week against Genoa, and he's going to be a tough customer for Indica. Then again, like I said, if Malin is able to navigate his way against a small team that closes in defense, I think it's a Roma win.
Yeah, and I think one of Malin's strengths from what we've seen so far is really playing between the lines. You see it in a lot of his goals where he's timing his runs so perfectly. He's taking indirect angles to the far post, to the near post, where he's just beating defenders in a league that's traditionally one of the strongest leagues defensively. You know, a lot of forwards we've seen come in and take a bit of time to adjust to Serie A. I think even Ibrahimovic in interviews has said that Italy is the toughest league to score goals in. And this isn't, I'm not trying to pump Malin's tires. I don't think he needs it. I think he's doing well enough with all my praise. But I think one of his strengths really is that level of movement. So hopefully he can keep up his run of hot form. Going to Atalanta Napoli, we can all agree this is probably one of the big ones. Yeah, we've got two teams that are, I think, almost on different. If this was a couple of weeks ago, I would say that they were on different trajectories. Como has hit a bit of a bump, only 2 wins in their last 5. Napoli sort of struggling as well, getting results, injuries being an issue. They still managed to look good. I think this is one of those games where, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe at Nostradamus, Remo, you can tell me that you have all the answers. But I'm really curious to watch this game because I feel like I want to try and break it down. I want to try and get an idea of what I think we might see. But with these two teams specifically right now, I have no idea what it's going to look like.
They're
what do you
both.
think, Rem?
Raspadori went down injured for Atalanta. He's missing 3 weeks. I think that's going to be a big, big, big loss for them.
And a big loss for my Fantacalcio team. Just dropped 40
Yeah,
credits. This
there
guy
you go.
plays a game and a half and he bounces. Story of my life this year.
I think this is a good game for Napoli, a good matchup for Napoli. Atalanta's been good. They have their strikers who have been scoring pretty consistently, both of them. And when one isn't scoring, the other one has been. They just came off a pretty solid 2-0 win against a Lazio team that we consistently have been saying are lacking. But I think Napoli needs this win more, and I feel as though this is really a perfect game for them to bounce back away from home, away from the pressure of the Maradona, in a stadium that they know and in a stadium that they're relatively comfortable in. I feel as though Højlund matched up against Yen or whoever is playing in the back line for Atalanta is a good matchup. He's extremely good on hold-up play. And I think it'll allow Vergara, or even if they decide to play Alcin Santos from the beginning, a solid chance to cut in behind. I see it as a 2-1 win for Napoli, personally. Though there could be, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. 2-1, 2-2, it'll be around there. But it's definitely the game that I want to watch the most this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary. We saw Højlund. I mean, we gave a shout out to Indika. He had Højlund in his back pocket all game.
Yeah, but it
Not a
was a
single
good battle.
shot on goal.
Good
Yeah,
battle.
it was great to watch. Two big guys, two guys whose strength really is their positioning and their physicality. And I think you're 100% right. I think Højlund gets a much more favorable matchup against those Atalanta center backs this week. How about you, Mike?
I'd love to watch this game, and I hope I make some time to watch this game next weekend. But I do think the way Atalanta are playing, I think they could squeeze a win at home. Personally, that was my prediction, and we could take a little gamble there. But I think Atalanta do squeeze a win. Look, they're heavy favorites, especially at home. It's a hard place to go and win. Napoli has been streaky also over the last few games. So, like the other teams, the thing about this year in the Serie A, and I think Remo alluded to it, a few weeks ago. You just don't know what's going to happen. The only team that's been consistent has been Inter, and that's over the last 12 games only, right? So everyone's been streaky. Anybody could beat anybody on any given day. I think that's why we love this league. That's why I love this league, because you never know what's going to happen. But I think Atalanta are playing very, very well, very confidently. They do have the Champions League midweek, so that could factor in.
Big game.
I think big game midweek for them as well. Yes,
and they're away from home, if I'm not mistaken.
Are they away from home?
Yeah, all Italian teams away from
all
home.
The Italians are away.
Yeah,
they're in Dortmund. That's gonna put a big effect on that game versus Napoli, who doesn't play this week.
Yeah.
So
I'll still stick with what I said.
Oh, okay. Well, put your money where your mouth is after.
Okay.
So, sticking to segueing into Europe there from the Atalanta discussion, looking at the European fixtures midweek, Galatasaray and Juve is going to kick us off. I think that's tomorrow. We're recording this on Monday. I think that's tomorrow. And we touched on a lot of these games when the draw happened, so we don't need to go into too much detail. Maybe just a couple of quick thoughts on each one. Galatasaray Juve. We mentioned that Turkey is not an easy place to play. Juve may be having some added stimulus after this weekend's situation, let's call it. Do you guys think Juve goes to Turkey and gets the job done, or do you think there's a trap waiting for them? Why don't you start, Sagi?
They're on paper, they should get a result in this game. On paper. Now, is everything that's happened over the weekend gonna put a fire under their ass, or sometimes it just throws you off? So we'll see what they do and what they throw up. Are they gonna rotate because they're away? If you're playing away, especially in a two-legged tie, do you sit a little bit more back? Are you maybe just try to control the game that way? I think they'll do that. I don't think they're going to try to take the game to Galatasaray. They're a very solid team. They have great attackers as well. But I think if you could get a good, for all three teams, I hope they win. But for all three teams in the end, I hope they go there, try to get your draw, and then try to smoke them at home. I think that should be the game plan for all three Italian teams, personally.
Yeah, and good shot there. It can. I mean, I think that Juve's strong enough mentally, and they have a strong enough manager for this to not have a negative effect on them. But that's a good shot. Sometimes these sort of situations can weigh on a team in a negative way. So interesting to
Well,
see how they bounce back.
especially if they're reading the news, like
Yeah, it's a big
all my
distraction.
feed has been. It's a huge
Yeah.
distraction, right? So
Yeah. What do you think, Rem?
I agree with Mike. I think the key to success for most of these Italian teams to go there and play pragmatic. They're all playing away from home. Galatasaray is no pushover. They have a very, very solid starting 11. Um, I think, like you said, they have a manager that can transmit to them that mentality where they can use what just happened over the weekend and have it motivate them. Um, I'm looking at the Galatasaray side, and I mean, I know the Turkish league is not the best barometer for quality and form, but Osimhen, Icardi, Lang, they just added.
Yeah,
It's a
Lemina.
very
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, Icardi
Gundogan
coming off a
solid in the
hat trick.
midfield.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Icardi coming off a hat trick this weekend in Turkey, and he had there was a lot of rumors of him having offered himself to Juve, and they very politely said no, thank you. So does he have a bone to pick with them? Maybe, who knows?
and he loves to score against Juve. So
Yeah,
I think it'll be very interesting. But I do feel as though Spalletti is the manager who knows that in this type of situation, being pragmatic, hitting on the counter, being solid defensively first is going to be more important going forward. And again, I think McKennie is going to be a huge deciding factor with late runs into the box in this game, and maybe set pieces are going to be a deciding factor in games like this.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. Atalanta probably have the toughest matchup of the Italian teams with facing Dortmund in Germany. They've been hot lately. Karnaseki's looked very good. Do you think, Mike, that they keep up the hot streak?
I think so. It depends how they set up also, right? Like what are they gonna look more on? Is it the game on the weekend? Is it this first leg in the Champions League? Like what are their ambitions in the Champions League? I think that's what they have to ask themselves. Atalanta, their style of play does translate a little bit better into Europe, so they can do it. They're not the Dortmund of the last 10 years either, right? I'm not sure how they're doing. So, like you said, if we had a producer, maybe they
They're
can, check that
yeah,
for us. But
they're second place in the Bundes right now, and they have 5 wins on the trot in the Bundesliga.
well, there you
Yeah,
go,
I mean,
5 wins on the trot.
second place in the Bundesliga might as well be first place in the Bundesliga
Yeah,
because you're,
pretty
you're
much.
playing with Dortmund, right? So first place is not usually even up for grabs. Yeah,
But I
it's
watched Inter
it's
play Dortmund. I just didn't like. I don't see them. They're, they don't play with that same attacking style that they had in the last few years. That's for sure.
yeah, a very different team since, and this is a long time ago, but since Klopp moved on, I think that was pretty much their heyday. They carried that momentum for a little while, but they've looked pretty different the past couple of years, not stringing together a bunch of great seasons since
Well, yeah,
he left.
they had they were playing well, but there was a season I think maybe 2 years ago they should have won. They lost. They had fate in their own hands. All they had to do was
Hmm.
win. I
Yeah.
think it was 2 years ago, and since then they have not been the same side, to be honest. So
Yeah, Inter, like you mentioned, Mike, going to Norway for Bodo Glimt. That stadium, the location of the game may change last minute. I don't think that's the kind of thing that would throw Inter off. They're probably looking at one of the easier matchups on paper. Bodo Glimt, we know, is no pushover. They've claimed some scalps in Europe over the past couple of years, most notably probably Man City, and I think they also beat Atletico
Yeah, they
this
did.
year. Yeah,
they did.
exactly. So, um, I'm curious to see with Inter having the league not locked up, but having a good handle. Do they? Because we can all agree the temptation would be there to look past Bodo Glimt, but going out of the Champions League here would, I think, be not catastrophic, but very, very disappointing for Inter. So I don't think they can take this too lightly.
They
What
can.
do you think as a fan? I mean, we're getting to the kind of year where the time of year where teams start to make business decisions, as I call them, and that's always a really tricky time. And it's always interesting to see where teams are putting their priority. What sort of lineup would you like to see, Mike,
Well,
if you were in Kivu's shoes?
I like them to rotate. I'd rather this year we need to win the league. I think that should be our main priority, especially being this. Remember, this is Kivu's first year. Winning the lead the league would probably be the best. Do we have ambitions to go far in the Champions League? We can try. I think when you look at last year, I think our goal was to win the Champions League. That was the goal, and we almost did it. We were there, but that was the goal of last year. I think this year it's to get back that crown um, in Serie A. Now, Bodo's a must tie, right? Then from here, who we draw and what happens next, then I say, well, we can take it with a grain of salt. But I think we absolutely have to win this tie midweek. But go there, rotate, try not to get injured. I think that's the biggest worry going and play. Well, now if the pitch is being moved, I don't know what's happening, but they play on a turf minus and the pitch is frozen. That's a few bad knees being blown out in their season, right? So I think that's what we have to worry about the most is don't get injured, try to win even with your rotating properly. But I think the league should be our main focus, and that should be that business decision. Although the Champions League might go get you a little bit more money, I don't think we have the team this year, and you saw that versus Juve. Juve dominated us over the weekend. I don't think we have the team to make the push to the final, but quarterfinal would be fine with me this year if we're going to win the league.
Rem, as a Milanista, what do you think of Inter's chances in Europe? Obviously, you're probably hoping that they prioritize the game against Bodo, but realistically, what do you see? What do you see happening?
I don't disagree with Mike. Realistically, Inter's probably putting the league first before the Champions League. But then again, this game should be, I mean, this time, maybe not this game. Like you said, playing in frigid conditions. It's always tricky on a field that might be turf or they might change the pitch. It's always very tricky. Another thing to realize is that Bodo Glimt, they're not playing right now. There's no the Norwegian league has been off since November. So they're just playing Champions League. That's a big advantage for Inter, I think, especially when you get into this part of the season where form is so important. I personally think, and coming from Milanista, Inter has the depth to play both competitions relatively easily. So I see them coming out of this tie very easily winning, especially in the second one at home. This one might be a little tricky, might be a tie or a last minute winner or a 1-0 but suffered win. I just don't think Bodo Glimt is going to have it at this point of the year, considering they're not playing consistently.
Yeah, fair summary. The last two Italian teams playing in Europe this week are Bologna visiting Bran and Fiorentina visiting Giagolonia, one of my favorite names, I think, in all of world football. We'll look at these two games together because I wanna evaluate these two games together because I think it's a situation where both teams are sort of in that business decision area where I think for both Bologna and Fiorentina, these European Cups can almost be a path to redeeming the season, right? I mean, Fiorentina has obviously ambition one is avoiding relegation, but if they can make a run in Europe, have a good showing, looking at the teams left in that competition, it wouldn't be impossible for a team like Fiorentina to make a final. Same deal with Bologna. Do you guys think that these European competitions for these two clubs, especially in this fixture, carry more weight than they do with the other Italian teams, Rem?
No, I think Fiorentina has to prioritize the league right now, in particular, especially them. There's no point in wasting bodies or wasting energy really on a European competition when you're struggling for relegation. So it's not like they're playing these. I think judging by the level of the competition, they could maybe win this tie with their second string players. But I personally think Fiorentina in particular to prioritize the league. Bologna, on the other hand, I mean, you're playing Brand. You bought one of their best players over with your transfer market. It's a little strange. It's very much Milan last year buying Jimenez and then losing to PSV. Um, but I feel as though they could probably use this competition to get some momentum. They won over the week, but they've been very much hot and cold, and mostly cold. So I think they could definitely use this competition to get some momentum. Playing a team like that we don't know much about, but like they should, judging by Bologna's level of skill and just quality, they should be able to beat a team that's below Bodo Glimt in the league. Uh, so I think Bologna could make use of this European competition, whereas Fiorentina needs to focus on relegation.
Yeah, I think that's a fair summary. I mean, Bologna and Brand specifically, I watch probably a unhealthy amount of football, and there are many names on the Brand roster that I recognize. So they're coming off of 5 winless in this competition. Bologna should be able to go out there and get a result. Fiorentina, I think you're not wrong in saying that definitely the priority needs to be Serie A and avoiding relegation. I don't know if I agree that their rotated lineup is good enough to walk past Jagiellonia. It's not a league that we give a lot of respect to, but Jagiellonia is a team with European experience at least. And I would argue that Fiorentina's first team is on the brink of relegation in Serie A. So their second team is not,
I
is
wouldn't
not
say
something that
walk.
I
I
would
said
do.
I didn't say walk. I said they should have the quality to beat them over two legs.
Yeah, should. I hope they do.
Walk
Maybe
walk
they
is
give.
walk is harsh.
That's our summary of Europe. Looking forward to it. Hopefully, you guys are able to sneak away from your work engagements and enjoy the games with us this midweek. We're gonna try something a little new here that we've been teasing for the past episode. Maybe you guys have figured out what it is already.
Dopo una riunione di circa 10 ore conclusasi questa mattina alle 5, la commissione disciplinare della Lega Calcio ha emesso la sentenza relativa al processo sulle scommesse.
It's a segment that we're going to call Calcio Scommesse. The idea here is each week one of us will put down a prop bet on one of the upcoming games. This week we can use any of the Italian teams in Europe, or we can look at next week's Serie A fixtures. Each of us gives one bet per week. We'll have an Excel file that we'll share with you guys on socials, tracking our records from here to the end of the season. And at the end of the year, the loser, the person with the least correct predictions, will have to face some sort of penalty. We'll look to you guys to visit the Sotto La Curva Instagram page. Rem will have a post pinned up there on top. You guys can give us some ideas of what the last place punishment should be. Please keep in mind we have wives, we have children, danger, but let's have some fun trying to figure out what we can subject the least accurate of us to. I'll go ahead and start here. This week, I'm looking at the Roma Cremonese game, and I'm going to take the team total over half for Roma. I think that they should be able to, with Malin in form, with Sule getting a bit of a rest this week, only coming in later in the game, hopefully being healthy. Pellegrini's look good. The offensive side of the ball hasn't been a problem for Roma. I think they should be able to put two past Cremonese at home this next weekend. Rem, what have you been looking at?
So I was gonna do the over 2.5 on Apple. But I
Okay.
don't know if that's too much of a cop out, but I feel like it'll be a high scoring game, either 2-1 or 2-2, like I said before. So I'm willing to put a bet on that.
All right. So over 2.5, Atalanta and Napoli for Rem. Definitely has goals and all over it, but you never know. Serie A is a funny old place. So, I mean, it's not Lecce money line, or it's not Inter money line over Lecce cop out. So we'll just stay away from those.
Hey, if you want,
that's a
if you
fair
want a
shout.
more hipster pick, if you want a more hip pick, I could.
Well, no, I think that's a fair one. How about you, Mike?
Did we lose Mike?
Maybe there's a goal. We wait for Mike. Doot, 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 doot. I think we might have.
Oh, we lost Mike. I'm gonna put a bet for him because he spoke a big game before. I think he's gonna put Atalanta over Napoli.
Atalanta money line. Maybe you try to bait him into it.
100%. I was gonna bait him into it.
So we'll just you've known Mike long enough. We can be comfortable that he would have taken the bait. And either way, we're recording. You're responsible for your own tech, Mike. So that's the bet you're getting. So we're doing Atalanta money line.
I hear sharks love the smell of olive oil.
Yeah, hopefully you didn't slide right off that balcony into the ocean. Much more like that his phone died. Don't worry, guys. Mike is probably safe wherever he is. Guys, that's another roundup. Rem, what are you most looking forward to seeing weekend in Serie A?
I'm looking forward to choosing to watch Milan Como over Champions League, and I'm looking forward to Atalanta Napoli game.
Are you choosing that, or I make that decision for you last year, Rem? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess
think
so. I guess so. But this week I'm telling myself that I'm choosing it. What about you,
there
Joe?
you go.
What are you looking forward to most this week?
I want to see Roma go out and win a fucking game that they're supposed to win. Like, no excuses, no bad luck, no deflections. Just go out and win the damn game. So, with
Okay,
that
so
said,
I'll
from
put
all
some
of
money on
us,
Cremonese.
you want to change it? I'll let you change it. We don't know what the
No, no, no,
punishment is
no,
yet.
no, no, no.
Okay.
I'll put a little parlay on Cremonese.
The happiness hedge. I always do that. I always put a little
Exactly.
something against what I'm going for. So, with all that said, hope you guys enjoyed. Enjoy the week of Serie A coming up. And we'll again next week. Ciao.
Oh.